In the past week, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and UN Ambassador Nikki Haley have shown different foreign policy intentions in the Middle East. Tillerson said defeating ISIS was first priority, whereas Haley outwardly pushed for regime change in Syria. Elijah Shama is back with us to break down recent U.S. actions abroad and give us a sense of the competing viewpoints behind them. Elijah, thanks for sticking around.
Thanks for having me again.
You're welcome. Clearly, there's a difference in stances here between Tillerson and Haley. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, what we're really seeing is that Nikki Haley is being a lot more bellicose in her language when we talk about kind of what our plans for ISIS are and what our plans for Bashar al-Assad is. Whereas Tillerson has very much said that he wants to defeat ISIS, but he hasn't specified that defeating ISIS means removing Assad from power in Syria, while Haley has gone that extra mile and said that we need to remove Bashar al-Assad from power. That's a big change.
And how does that play into what happened today in Afghanistan and last week in Syria?
I think what we're seeing is that U.S. diplomacy is definitely moving a lot further from soft power than it did during the Obama administration, where definitely there's a focus on military might and saying we have the power to force you to do these things if you're not going to agree with us when we're at the table to talk.
And it seems like Haley and Tillerson are definitely talking in different directions, but in terms of holding similar stances, do they differ on issues of foreign policy?
It's interesting because they differ on issues of Russia. Tillerson's been kind of soft on Russia, while Haley has kind of lambasted Russian diplomats in the UN for alleged human rights abuses in Syria. But what they've both kind of maintained is that defeating ISIS is the #1 priority. The changes are kind of in getting to defeating ISIS, whether it be through removing Bashar al-Assad or just targeting ISIS. That's really the main difference that we're seeing.
And when it comes to the ear of President Trump in foreign policy moving forward, who do you think has more sway, Rex Tillerson or Nikki Haley?
I think Rex Tillerson is kind of vying for more of that power, but I think right now Nikki Haley has that ear. Because when we see kind of Rex Tillerson, this is a man that's the Secretary of State that didn't have a hotel booked for him at the G7. We're seeing kind of people aren't really paying attention to him as much. He's not bringing a press pool wherever he goes, and people are either phoning Jared Kushner or they're going to Nikki Haley when they need something done and they're a foreign leader.
Elijah, thanks for sticking around. Always
No
a
problem.
pleasure.